What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 10 of Chainsaw Man. Quick recap. Essentially, this is the aftermath of what happened in the last two episodes, where the hit was attempted on all of what is now Division 4. Only a few survived, and we are kind of dealing with the aftermath, the aftershocks of that. We find Aki in the hospital, recovering. Power and Denji are both there hanging out, and we kind of see a glimpse of how everybody's taking this. Aki, is staying kind of strong and stoic in front of people, but behind closed doors, it is hitting him pretty deeply as he is reminded that Himeno is gone now when he tries to smoke a cigarette. As after that, Denji can hear him crying and reflects on why he doesn't feel really anything for anyone. And starts questioning if he would feel if certain people were to pass, and even says at one point the only person he feels like he would feel something for would be Makima, but he also says it would only be for like 3 days, so he's being very honest about this. So the people from Kyoto come down to coach Aki, which is kind of loose in really what they're doing. They just kind of question him about a couple things, seeing if he's really wanting to stay and do his job, or if he wants to bow out, which they kind of imply he probably should, but he's persistent in that he doesn't want to do that. And they're like, okay, you must be crazy. On the other side, Denji and Power meet up with Makima to meet a dude that we saw in a flashback before. I don't remember if he was talking to Aki or Himeno in that flashback, but we've seen him before, but barely. And I don't think we caught his name. I'm sure people who read the manga know his name. Maybe it was mentioned in that flashback. We don't remember, but as of right now, it's just the dude with the scar on his face. And as Makima is trying to introduce Denji and Power to him, he's not really interested in that all too much, and pretty much takes the reins of the situation, and that he is going to train Power and Denji to be total badasses. He himself is a devil hunter from Division 1, and he claims that he's the best devil hunter, and that he's going to turn them into badasses. He tells them essentially they need to be able to beat him, and they attempt it, and he easily is able to pretty much murder them. He's very quick about what he does, and it was very satisfying, but we will talk about that. It's also implied that after he does that, he kind of gathers that Denji is immortal and Power is almost immortal, and so he's giving Denji the full treatment of just killing him, but keeping Power barely alive.
Unconscious.
Yeah. And it's said later that when Denji's asking how many times he got killed, she says over 20, but she was unconscious most of those times, so it's kind of fucking scary. After a long day of training and getting murdered over and over again, every anime's got their moment where you meet a cap, you got to train to be able to fight the next level of enemies, and this is essentially that. Only I've never seen an anime where they're getting essentially murdered during that training. So it's a very interesting twist on that whole thing. So I can't remember. We get a moment with Aki in the hospital where somebody comes to talk to him. We find out later that was Himeno's younger sister.
Yes.
And she brought him a letter that was from Himeno that she had sent to her family, essentially talking about how she was trying to talk Aki out of doing this line of work, and that she wanted him out. We saw in a flashback that she would bring this up with him, but this kind of shows that this is something she really wanted for him, adding a lot of gravity to the situation. We didn't see her face, though, which was interesting. The sister. So I don't know what that was about. Maybe it's not important. Maybe they're just keeping it kind of vague because it's like, you get what the point was. Denji and Power, after getting their ass kicked all day, devise a plan that they're going to use their brains now. They've been using their brawn, they're going to use their brains now. And finally, they're going to be able to defeat this dude, because as long as they decide that they're going to be smart about it, they will be smart about it. And the next day, they, wearing glasses because they're being very smart about what they're about to do, decide to ambush this scar-faced devil hunter who is coming to their house. Kind of shambling around. It's interesting. He said earlier that he likes booze, women, and killing devils, which was an interesting thing. That this guy is such a badass and drinking heavily all day, it seems. He shows up. They go to attack him in a very well animated, big surprise scene where Power shoots a spear through the door. And then, I didn't know she could do this, but it makes sense, has spears come through the ceiling at this guy, in which he dodges it all and just punches through it. Denji jumps down to attack from behind, and he just instantly kicks him right in the face, drops him, tells him he's going to leave, and they can take the rest of the day off. And then, as Denji's excited about, I get a day off, he gets a knife thrown right into his forehead. Dropping him again. So, and the devil hunter essentially tells him, don't ever trust what a devil hunter has to say to you, essentially. And then we end the episode with Aki, after his coaching, going with the two from Kyoto down into the deepest, darkest recesses to find Aki a new weapon, apparently. This is where they keep curses or devils. Curses. That's a Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, where'd I get that from? Anyway, this is where they keep the devils that they have captured and haven't killed. And it kind of gives us a glimpse on how some people might be able to get their abilities from devils, in which they go down to, what was the devil's name? The Future Devil. And they have, they say that this devil has actually worked with two other people, but they had to sacrifice, I forgot what somebody sacrificed two of their eyes. Their sense of taste and something else, smell. Yeah. And then somebody else sacrificed something. I forgot what it was. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But this devil has worked with people before, and they are hoping it may work with Aki as he walks in to its cell and gets locked in with it. We see an eye in the dark looking at him, and has me asking a lot of questions on what's going to happen here.
It's also worth noting, when he was in bed earlier in the episode too, he pulled a sword and asked the cursed devil how much time he had left. The implication of that question, I have no idea, but cursed devil responded with 2 years.
2 years, so, yeah.
I assume that means he has 2 years to live.
Yeah, there's a lot of little details in this episode, and that was kind of a big one too. Yeah, because he asks after looking at it and said 2 years. That's what I got from as well, as they has 2 years to live. So that kind of gives us a timeline, at least for him to try and accomplish something within 2 years, whether that's correct or not, whether that gets sped up or not, because if he uses the sword, it sucks his time away. So we will see. But I'm curious about what this future devil will accomplish for him, and if you can double up.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's gonna be.
We don't know the rules fully.
Don't know anything about this devil yet, so.
Yeah. So.
Or what he's going to ask for in return.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm really curious about where we're going with this, but it is ending. We're nearing the end of the season, and so I think we are building up these characters to get ready for the next season on what kind of bigger and badder devils they will be fighting and new challenges. Yeah. So I got my Chainsaw Man shirt on. I'm a big fan, and I'm ready to talk about this. But Chevy, what were your impressions of episode 10?
Yeah, so I kind of like in the beginning where you kind of get everyone's headspace when it comes to like a mass strategy like this, because it wasn't just like a person died. It was like their entire fucking squad pretty much.
Yeah, it was a complete wipe, except for Kobeni.
Yeah, who's MIA at the moment apparently. So
she's going to tell Makima or Himeno she quits.
Well, I think they implied that she is hiding or something like that, or disappeared or something. I can't remember. Anyways, so it's kind of interesting seeing, like, obviously, I kind of expected Power's response to everything, because she's been very, like, I don't care about anything but power, in Maui. Denji kind of, I think, was the most surprising, just because, like, he obviously used to be human, but he, like, was raised in interesting circumstances, but now he's also part devil, and so, like, he's trying to figure that out, like, why don't I feel anything? Maybe I did lose something, when I did this, contract basically. So, kind of interesting that he's kind of like having that realization just to brush it off
Well,
almost immediately
this whole
afterwards.
episode is an episode of tests. It's testing Aki and what he's capable of taking, what he's willing to do. They even ask him if he's going to go or not. Obviously, we're not talking about that specifically, but also with Denji, it's, he used to be human. Now he's like this hybrid. And we almost get to see a test of his morality in the sense of like, what's important to him. Do people even matter to him? He questions that. And even when he talks to the guy in the graveyard, he's like, who would you side with, humans or devils? And Denji says, whoever would be willing to take care of me. Power says whoever is winning.
Yeah.
And these are very revealing and honest answers, but it's very interesting. Obviously, Denji's the main character, but he's kind of stupid, and he kind of, because he's raised as a dog essentially, doesn't have a sense of like loyalty outside of like who's petting him and feeding him.
Yeah.
Like a dog. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, Power being selfish like a cat. It is very much like a cat and dog thing almost with those two.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I never thought of her as a cat, but that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's now calling her Powie.
Out of nowhere, but yeah.
Yeah. I read that first. I'm like, who the fuck's that? And I was like, oh, wait, that's Powie. That's Power. I'm already calling her that.
Yeah, and then Aki, obviously going through probably the most human emotions for someone who is in this line of work, as we've kind of come to find out that the only people who make it in this line of work are little nuts. You can't be
to
like
choose to keep doing it. Yeah, you have to be a little off.
Yeah, because like anyone who has been like somewhat normal either like died really early or they quit basically. So
true, which is kind of an early sign with Kobeni. That like she's still around. She's nuts.
She's very nuts.
She's not mentally stable. Nobody who's alive is except for Aki, but he's obviously going through a lot
obsessive.
with his background.
Yeah.
He's probably depressive. Now he's lost even more. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, and his timer's ticking. So like the only thing he cares about is revenge. Which if you've watched any revenge movies, usually makes people crazy. So so yeah, I love all that. We get to the graveyard scene or whatever. I also really like the interview, basically, where he just asks them all these questions and they answer in the most "I'm not human. I don't care what humans at all," answers. And he's like, "Perfect," which was a cool little moment to have, because when we had the flashback in an earlier episode when he was getting ready to train Aki in Himeno, he warned them about being essentially sane. Being sane is not a good thing. And so like these two are not very intelligent and not human at all. He's like, oh, perfect. You guys are exactly what I need.
I like how everyone's just kind of damaged in some way. Because even that dude, if he's drinking that much, I mean, is that to keep him not sane? Is that because he's seen so much? Like, obviously we don't know yet, but like everyone's just got something up.
Well, and he didn't care about anything in life other than the three things he mentioned. Like
he's just a boozer, womanizer, and
he wants to kill.
Yeah.
He can do that with devils. So,
and it's funny too because he walks up and hugs them. And at first I'm like, okay, that's interesting. He doesn't even know these guys.
Yeah.
And then he instantly fucking breaks their necks. Breaks their necks. I was like, damn.
Yeah, because he knows he can just feed them and they'll heal, which is...
It's almost like he was, again, testing. He's like, you guys are biologically built in a way that I can break your neck.
Yeah.
But obviously you're going to heal once I give you blood.
When he was teaching him a hard lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was like...
Their body's limited.
You're in a human body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you might not die, but you could be taken out pretty quick, which did happen to...
Easily.
Denji multiple times in the show already. Even with the katana devil, just like sliced him in half, and that was it. It was over.
Well, every fight he's been in so far has just been chaos. He's not like smart about the way he fights.
Yeah, he just thrashes.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kind of fast forwarding a little bit too, because we already kind of did a lot of this in the beginning. I really enjoyed when he goes to visit them at the apartment as well. The two of them forming together to have one whole brain cell for their plan.
Big brain.
I
It's not even that good of a plan.
no, it was awful.
Just shoot through the door, try and stab him from the top, and then get him from behind.
The best part was the initial ambush part, but once it started falling apart, they didn't have a backup plan.
Yeah, it felt. I thought there's gonna be more to it, but that was it.
So it was like a all or nothing almost.
She was like spent right after she sucked up all the blood from those.
Yeah, it made her anemic. So she
Yeah.
passed out or started to pass out or whatever. I also like how she just got a dumb grin on her face the whole time. But it is interesting to see like her use her blood manipulation to do something other than a hammer as well, because like we've only really seen that. I also like that she was able, when they first went to like try to beat the dude before he killed him 20 plus times, she made a hammer and threw it to Denji.
Yeah,
And it was still solid for him.
which shows she can just create it.
Yeah, which is a really interesting detail to throw in there.
Well, and maybe she is just kind of used to using the hammer, and maybe she's using the spears now 'cause she's thinking
Maybe.
a little bit, and now she's got a new way to use the blood magic that she uses.
I just think it's crazy. One spear was enough to take her out because the other blood was already accounted for.
Yeah,
Like outside of that, unless she
but
didn't replenish.
if she's normally just making the hammer, she's making more now. So maybe this is a training thing
Yeah.
for her that she doesn't realize. Because even he's like, "Oh, you guys, this is your best attempt yet." He's not like thinking it's amazing, but you guys at least tried something.
Well, then dude goes like Neo on all the spears and like analyzing it as he's dodging, which was so great to watch.
Oh yeah. No, if Mappa wanted to sell this guy as a badass, they did it flawlessly.
Yeah.
And with the animation, with everything that they did when he first attacked them in the graveyard, like even like breaking their necks was like funny, but then like when she throws the hammer to him, he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna hit him," and he goes to swing, and he instantly just stabs him in the chest twice, and then just takes him out through the head, and then
Yeah.
slices her throat. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Some John Wick with a knife shit.
Yeah.
And then this situation, like I didn't think they were gonna get him anyway, but like that he just dodged it and started just kicking and punching through the shit, and then Denji comes down, and he just kicks him right in the head. I'm like, yeah, this guy's dangerous for
With
sure.
the smoothest roundhouse kick,
Yeah.
man, that was
It looked really good.
crazy. God, I love the way they do hand to hand.
Even as a viewer, I was taken off guard because I didn't expect it. But like when Denji's like, "Oh, we get the day off," and then he like looks up, and as soon as he looks up, there's just like a quick little
The glint.
shimmer of the knife,
Yeah.
and then boom, right in his head. I was like, that was fucking cool the way they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then outside of that, the Kyoto pair, constantly trying to get into Aki's mental, state to make sure.
Yeah, they're like analyzing him almost.
Yeah, double, triple, quadruple checking the dude. Mm-hmm. And then I'm curious, especially with the Future Devil part, just because like if he does in fact have 2 years to live, and if we're using implications of what future means, like does that mean he can see the future?
Maybe he can manipulate the future too.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? So like,
because that might
this
be
is
able to
gonna
buy him time if he can manipulate time.
Yeah,
like
this
I don't-
is gonna be bonkers. I have a feeling because like the idea, like anything time related, it's kind of a sketchy thing anyway. So, so I'm curious what that means. What does Future Devil mean? But if
I feel like they're trying to stack gear on a character. Like, okay, this gets my crit up. This will get my blah blah, so I can loop it and get even more out of it.
He lost the Fox Devil.
Yeah.
She bailed.
At the very least, it's not cooperating with him
right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pissed off because the Katana Devil fucking slit its head open.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I'm definitely curious what that's going to mean, because what does he have to offer other than just like immediate, treats basically from his body, because he doesn't have he ain't got time left really to be given up anything else. So
Yeah, you can't really barter with that.
yeah, so that'll be an interesting to see where that goes. I'm also curious to see, because I assume they're going to rebuild the division. What kind of new characters we might end up seeing in that regard.
Yeah, they got to add somebody. And we still haven't seen the girl with the halo that we've seen in the intro.
The one that has like the angel wings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I think there's some other people in that intro
Like,
too.
does Kobeni quit, or like?
I don't think so.
Did she get brought back? Like, I don't understand what's going on with her either. So,
I think
like,
she'll be back.
yeah, and obviously, if you guys know, like, we're not manga readers. Please don't spoil it.
We say it every episode, but we might have new viewers every episode. So yeah, we have not read the manga. We are not reading the manga right now. So please, if you want us to enjoy the show, keep the spoilers to a minimum. We are on episode 10.
Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, good episode. I said this last time, we had kind of like an in between episode between like action scenes and stuff like that. Even though we got action
Like
scenes,
big events.
This is always appreciated. I like wind down time and time to like establish lore and story and rules and stuff like that.
Well, and there's these big impactful things that happen in the show, and the show's really good about having an episode where we get to digest that, and it's really important. It's not just the downtime episode, which it definitely is. That's what it's for. It's like, let's chill before the next big thing happens. But it does a really good job on like processing Aki and what he's going through. And he's kind of going through the same thing viewers are going through with Himeno, because everyone I've talked to is upset that Himeno's dead. And so, it's good that we take an episode where we can have a character in the show, feeling for that character, because we're not getting that from Denji and Power. They don't care. They just kind of acknowledge
especially
that they're
Power.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good that we got that kind of episode, but we got way more action in this episode than I thought we would. I was completely fine with like a lot of talking and figuring things out, and the arc with Aki, going to double, triple up with his contracts. Yeah. But yeah, then we got like really awesome action sequences that are essentially just part of the training in a really brutal way, which I'll be very curious to see how Power and Denji evolve from this.
How they level up.
Yeah, because every anime's got a moment like this. Any anime where like you got to keep fighting things, but the way they're doing it, I think, is a lot of fun. So I'm definitely excited to see what happens in the next episode in that regard.
Yeah.
It was a great episode. I really liked it. What's going on with Aki is really interesting. It adds the humanity to the episode that I think we as the viewers need, because we don't identify with Denji and Power, or at least we shouldn't be identifying with them and how they're processing this, because they're not. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting also to see what Aki is sacrificing. I also like that Aki's not a one-dimensional character. As a character who, in the beginning, is just kind of like a quiet, stern dude, he's always shown layers, which I've liked, but then he's also crying in this episode. And so, like, he's a fully fleshed out human being in this world that I think is a really likable character, and I think a really important character to the story so far.
Also, just a side note, in the multiple times we've seen people cry in the show now, man, they make crying look very wet in the show.
Yeah, they animate the tears quite a bit. So that was really cool. It was also interesting to see the Kyoto team show up and talk with him and kind of test him a bit, and then what they're planning with the devil that he's going to talk to, the future devil. Very curious to see where that goes. We already speculated a little bit on where we think that could go. It could go a million different directions. So light speculation. I'll just wait till they reveal that. But with his limited amount of time, a future devil might definitely be useful. And I think that's obviously why they brought him to that one specifically. They even look at, or at least one of them looks at the other one when he goes in. So definitely a surprise waiting with that. The dynamic between Power and Denji is becoming even more and more interesting. They definitely have a like buddy cop vibe now. They've had that for a while, but now it's even further. Like anytime there's somebody that they both just don't like, they both like buddy up on them and just like kind of talking shit about them, which I think is funny. Even though they don't even have a strong alliance, it's
almost borderline sibling like.
They are just the closest to each other than anyone else is, and so they relate to each other a little. They're on the same frequency. They're both simple. They both got simple needs. They're different needs, but they're simple, and so they just speak each other's language more than other people's language. And I think it's really funny the way that they're getting to know each other. But Denji is calling her Powie now, so that is a step in the direction of creating nicknames for each other. There's a relationship building there. Definitely sibling-y. The whole thing with the graveyard was awesome. The training sequence was awesome. Really, really was impressed with that. It was really cool looking. And then the idea that Denji got killed over 20 times in a day as training is super brutal, but so of this show's flavor, it makes sense that
Also,
it would be that brutal.
Yeah, and his response of just like, "This sucks. This isn't fun."
Well, he had my favorite thing is he had a mental break.
Oh yeah.
He was just laying on the ground and started going nuts because he'd been killed over 20 times. Like most people will get killed once in their life. So like, if they do get killed, but like,
You should totally watch ReZero.
yeah, I watched a couple episodes. I got the gist of it, but it's, I got to watch that more. That was pretty interesting. But, yeah, it was just interesting. He's just laying there and he was fine at first. And he starts like going nuts and Power starts punching him in the face.
Yeah, what a weird like idea for like us just for the situation at hand. I gotta fix him. Punch him in the head.
Yeah. She's just like, heal. Because she's not wired the same way as him. Because she's not like this hybrid. So
Yeah.
she's like, what are you doing? But you know, that human side of him is just like, I'm not supposed to be able to handle this.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be able to fucking get killed this many times.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to watch that happen. But yeah, this dude, I don't know his name, but he's a complete badass. When he's saying he's going to turn them into badasses, they're going to have to be because he is. And he's telling them they got to defeat him. So that'll be interesting. And then, yeah, the apartment part was awesome. Loved it. Everything about it. The action was awesome. The plan was funny. That they had glasses on is my favorite thing ever. As soon as it showed her in the shadows and she had glasses on, I'm like, she's got fucking... Because they're walking home. They had to walk out of that desert, wherever the hell they were at. But they're walking back, and they're just instantly so convinced that now they've decided to use their brain, that they are using their brain, and they got this. They're both so confident. Like, I feel smarter already. And it's like, you didn't even, like... It's like when she said she was going to win the fucking... the Nobel Prize or whatever.
Yeah.
Because she's going to become, like, the prime minister or what the fuck. And that was it. That was where the plan ended.
Yeah.
And she was just super confident about it.
100%
And
tax rate.
yeah. And she's like, haha, this is going to work. And it's like, that's it. Same thing here. They're like, let's use our brain. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And they're both like, hey. And then she's got her stupid glasses on. And then it shows him. He's got glasses on. I was like, oh, my God.
They both got stupid smiles on their face.
Because they're convinced they got him. So, yeah, that was perfect. I loved that scene. And he just completely wrecked them. But, you know, they're already evolving. So this is what you want to see in the show. And, yeah, overall, really great episode. The big question at the end is what's going to happen to Aki? Very curious to see what happens there. And I can't wait to see more of Denji and Power's training in the next episode. But, yeah, like every episode of this show so far, great. Loving it.
Yeah.
Great writing, great animation, great characters. They just nail everything in this show. For me, this is definitely right up my alley.
I will say it's probably my least favorite outro though. The ED.
100%. I think the same.
It was all right.
Yeah, it was neat to look at, but it was underwhelming compared to the rest of them. The song was okay. The visual style was okay. There's lots of it looked like real life, but with a filter over it, unless that was animated. But
I'm pretty sure that was real life.
yeah, like the noodles and stuff, it looked
Yeah.
real. But there's some neat stuff in there. But yeah, it was definitely, I think, my least favorite as well. But yeah, anything else you want to say on it?
I mean, there's not really a whole lot more you can say. It wasn't like a big crazy action packed episode. So. Had a lot of fun with it. So far, it was still not a bad episode. They got 2 more to go, I believe. So it might just be a complete knockout.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of episode 10 of Chainsaw Man. What'd you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Where do you think things are going? If you don't know where things are going, if you do know where things are going, don't tell us. I don't want to know. Yeah, what'd you like about it though? And what do you think about the guy in the graveyard? I don't know his name. If they said his name, let me know.
They did.
I don't think they did either. He was very quick to just be like, yeah, whatever, and started just kind of ask him questions. And
He said he just likes being called teacher.
yeah, and they start giving out hugs. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below when it comes to episode 10. And yeah, I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. Until the next episode, we'll talk to you later.